I applied to nursing school with a 2.29 GPA and I got in. Here's how. Hey guys, I'm Casey. I am so happy you clicked on this video. I am currently an accelerated nursing student, which is absolutely wild to say because there was a point in my life where I didn't think I would ever get here. So it's absolutely great to say that to you guys. I wanted to make this video because I have definitely struggled and I didn't think I would ever be sitting here in front of you saying that I'm a nursing student, and oh my god, I'm like getting emotional. And so I just wanted to talk about how I was able to get here from honestly one of the worst states I've ever been in my life, and how you can get here too. And just because you have setbacks and you have to jump over hurdles and you hit some low points in your life does not mean that you cannot hit the goals or get the career that you want. First of all, I think we need to explain why my GPA is so low. So I am actually 26 years old and I already have a bachelor's degree. So let's talk about my college experience. So my freshman year of college started 2015, and I was like your average college student, maybe slightly above average. I graduated high school with a very good GPA, 3.75. I was on the honor roll. I was a varsity athlete. I was a mentor, like all the things you want in a college student. I had been successful my entire high school career. I worked hard, studied hard, went to college. My freshman year of college did well. Like, obviously college was hard. I was on the pre-med track, if you will. I knew I already was interested in sciences. And then my sophomore year rolled around, and unfortunately there was an event that caused me to go into a very dark place mentally. Honestly, I was depressed and my grades suffered. So that semester, I got absolutely awful grades. And I was put on academic probation, and this was the fall of 2017. I was in no shape to be going to classes and putting in the work I needed to pass, nor was I interested. Like, I was just so disengaged with everything. But if you saw me during that time, you would have never known, because I was so good at just putting up a facade and acting like everything was fine. So then the winter of 2017 rolls around and I get a letter in the mail that says I have been academically dismissed from the University of Missouri. So AKA dropped out, kicked out, whatever word you want to use. And that was detrimental to me because, you know, I had grown up my whole life. You went to high school, then you went to college, and it was just so out of character from who I was in high school to get kicked out. And honestly, I was lost for about 3 years. Like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. You know, I was like taking classes at a community college just to kind of do it. Like, I was very, very lost. And then we fast forward to 2019 and I got a job at the ER. I did not realize how much of a blessing in disguise this job was. I had taken a couple classes at community college and I had gotten okay grades, like C's and B's. I submitted them to the university and they accepted me back on academic probation. And I was taking classes at the university, but I just was like taking them to take them, you know. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I hadn't declared my major. I was telling people, like, because, you know, people ask, what are you doing? You know, what are your plans? I was telling people I was pre-med because that's what I was before I was academically dismissed. I knew I liked healthcare. I knew I liked medicine, but I was not really passionate about it, nor was I actively putting in the work to be pre-med, because if you are pre-med, you are doing a lot of stuff to beef up your resume. You are obviously like very academically driven, and that is not how I would describe myself at this time. So I started working in the ER and I just fell absolutely in love with emergency medicine. It's hard to explain unless you've actually done it, but emergency medicine is absolutely amazing. You will meet a patient for a couple minutes and you will know something about them or get to know them in a deeper way than most of their friends and family. Like, people come to the ER on their worst days of their life and they are trusting you to fix it. And there is something about the connection you make with your patients that you don't find anywhere else in medicine. Working in the ER, I worked right alongside nurses and doctors, and I realized that nurses are the ones who actually take care of the patients. Like, doctors draw up the game plan, but it is the nurses who carry out those actions. And basically, in the back of my mind, I knew, I was like, I think I want to be a nurse. I think I want to be a nurse. But I was really worried about the social stigma of, saying I'm pre-med and then switching to being a nurse because it's easier or something like that. If I could go back and talk to myself, do what you want to do and do what makes you happy. But I basically had this one patient interaction where I was like, you need to be a nurse. I was sitting on a patient. If you don't know what that means, some patients need sitters where you are literally watching the patient one-to-one. They are at risk of hurting themselves or others. So I was sitting on this patient and we just made a connection. And they were very vulnerable and they opened up to me and they told me why they were in this situation. And that was something that if I was a physician, I know that they just don't have the time to sit there with patients and they would never tell them. And because this patient opened up and told me, we changed their entire treatment plan. And I realized, okay, you need to be a nurse. You need to be a nurse so you can go interact with patients, you can go make those connections, and you can be an advocate. It is now 2020 because I've been working in the ER for about a year, and this is when I've finally had this come to Jesus realization that we're going to be a nurse. And I start taking my classes more seriously. I start looking up nursing programs and I start looking into what prerequisite classes I need. At this point, I have now declared my major as biology just because it made the most sense and I would get the degree fastest based on classes I'd already taken. Something I wish that I had known about while I was going through this process is the ASU Universal Online Learners Course. This course is absolutely amazing at getting you introduced to all the different sort of health professions there are. I know that if I would have had this class while I was going through this time period in my life, I definitely would have opened my eyes to all the different fields and careers there are available in healthcare. You guys, when I was in this time in my life, I literally thought the only thing available for going into healthcare was being a doctor or being a nurse. There are so many different careers in healthcare you can pursue, and this course is absolutely amazing at getting you all introduced to that, and best of all, you can take it online, so you do not have to be local to the university. It is literally available for everyone. I have a link down below, and I highly recommend that you check them out. So being a biology major, I had most of the prerequisite nursing classes, but not all of them. When I started doing my research into different nursing programs in my area, I realized that almost all these nursing programs wanted a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. Some were even more competitive and wanted like 3.2s, 3.3s. I realized I was nowhere even close to that. So I was, doing the math, like if I got all A's, in my classes, like what would my GPA be? And I was still coming up short. And that was really hard and depressing to realize because I had finally figured out what my passion in life was and I'd finally figured out what I wanted to do. But I was like, damn, I just have like this block that I can't get in. Like here's me and here's the standard and I'm just not there. So I started talking with nurses in the department and I just told them I had a low GPA because obviously I was embarrassed to tell them how low it was. And one of them told me, they're like, Casey, you don't need a bachelor's degree to be a nurse. You can get an associate's degree. And this really opened up the doors for me because when I was researching nursing programs, I was looking for bachelor's programs. And so when I started looking at associate degree programs, the requirements were much lower. Now, let me preface this. Just because the requirements for these programs were lower does not mean that a nurse who has an associate's degree versus a bachelor's degree are any different. You still take the same licensing exams. You are still equivalent nurses, you just have different degrees. So I started looking into associate degree programs, and I was able to find a program that didn't have any GPA requirements. They only had requirements on your prereq classes. I believe it was a B- or higher in all of the nursing prereqs. That was their academic requirements. There was no overall GPA requirements. And so I was like, oh my God, I felt like literally the clouds had opened, the light was shining down on me, the hallelujah moment. I was like, okay, I can go to nursing school. So my last 3 semesters, I was taking my graduate requirements for biology, and I was taking my nursing prerequisites. And you guys, the switch had flipped in my mind, and I just became so motivated. And I was like, we have to get good grades to get into nursing school. I had been kind of going through the motions for a lot of my college career, but knowing that, okay, there's a chance that I can get into nursing school if I turn my grades around and do good in these prerequisites, it was such motivation for me, and I was working so hard, and I got all A's and B's for my nursing prereqs, and obviously my GPA was still low. Like, my GPA for my bachelor's degree, just honestly, it couldn't recover from the damage I had done to it. So I then applied to my nursing program, and I applied to several associate nursing programs, and I had never been so nervous in my life because I was like, okay, well, what is my fallback plan? I knew that there was very much still a chance I wouldn't be accepted into these schools because they did require your transcript to get in. And I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, what admissions officer is gonna let me in seeing that I have failed multiple classes? And, you know, I do have such a low GPA, even though these programs don't have GPA requirements. Like, I knew that that was going to be the biggest hurdle for me. And all I've got to say, just based off someone who has personally gone through this, I obviously got in, thank God. And I remember the day I got my acceptance letter, I literally cried because I had struggled for so long, and I didn't think that I would ever get into a nursing program. I thought that I was gonna have to go like LPN, then RN. And it was just such a biggest relief and moment to make me realize that, like, okay, if you work hard at something, you might not have to go about it the traditional way. You know, you might have to go kind of the untraditional path and do things that a little bit harder, and it might take you a little bit longer, but if you really want something, you can get there. And when I did finally get in, and I obviously met with an admissions officer, and we went over, you know, making my schedule and just introducing me to the nursing program, one of the things he brought up to me was he talked about how important it is to be resilient. And that was one thing that they saw on my application was, okay, yes, I had obviously gone through a very hard and rough time academically, but I did not give up, and I proved to them that I was capable of earning good grades and being academically successful. And something that this admissions officer told me that like really stuck. He's more impressed by candidates that show resiliency than just like the perfect 4.0 student. Because he was saying that, you know, those perfect high grade students, he's worried that they do get into a nursing program that's obviously academically rigorous and they've never met adversity before and they fail and they don't know how to come back from that. And I was like, don't worry, I know failure and I never want to do that again. So if you are watching this and you are in the same shoes I was in a couple years ago, you're not doing well in school, you have a low GPA, you can still get into nursing school. You are going to have to work really hard, and you might not be able to apply to certain programs you want. So if you have a low GPA, if you are below that 3.0 threshold that most bachelor's degree nursing programs want, I would highly recommend you go the associate degree route. And then once you've found some associate programs, you need to absolutely get A's and B's on your nursing prereqs. If you have that low GPA, you have to prove to them that you can be successful. And it is going to be a lot of hard work, because I stayed up studying so late. I was embarrassed that I was retaking classes that I had already taken and got seasoned. That was another thing. Some of the nursing prereqs I had already taken and I'd gotten seasoned, and I retook those classes to prove to them that yes, I can get good grades in these classes and I will be a successful nursing student. So I know that someone out there watching this is in the exact same spot I was in. Please, please, please do not give up your dream on going to nursing school or whatever professional degree program it is that you want to pursue. You absolutely can still be successful. It is going to be a much harder road, but I promise you it'll all be worth it, because I told myself, I was like, okay, if I don't get into this associate's program, I'm going to have to be an LPN, then become an RN. Like, I knew that there were other steps I could take. So just do not give up on what you want to do, because I genuinely have never been happier. I know I make a lot of videos on my channel about nursing school and how hard it is, but truly I feel so blessed, and I feel like I appreciate this opportunity for education a lot more than my peers, just because I did work so hard to get here. You know, like, there are those students that things come easy for them. That will never be me. I always have to study my butt off. And I'm just so incredibly happy and proud to be sitting here making this video for you guys. And I really hope that this video inspires one of you to realize that even if you have struggled academically, you can come back from that. It will be very hard, but if you truly want something, you can find a way to do it. I know that you can. So I hope this video helped you guys. And if you have any questions about getting into nursing school, or just how to study, or really just how to get out of a rut, please drop a comment down below. I love responding to you guys in the comments. And make sure, if you are interested in a career in healthcare, that you check out ASU's Universal Learning Course, and the link down below.